We now have one more panel before the break, so please stay if you can, where we're going to talk about talent in the aviation industry. How do we attract it? How do we retain it? And how do we attract the most diverse talent? Chairing this panel is Laura Westbrook, senior reporter from the South China Morning Post. I'd be grateful if all panelists could please come up.
Great, thanks so much. It's so great to be here. Thanks so much to Paul for organizing. Thanks so much to my panelists. Let's dive in, but first of all, let me introduce Sarah Kalmata to my left. He's the founder of Pivot Point. Then we have Dane Williams, who is a business and private jet captain and director of Aviation Safety Asia. And then we've also got Johnny Lau, who is a chief consultant with PwC and also program chair of the Aviation Finance program at the Vocational Training Council. Thanks so much for joining me. I want to first start of all, for many of us, traveling is a distant memory. I know I haven't left Hong Kong in about 15 months. So Dane, I want to start with you. Can you just tell us, what is it like flying at the moment? And what measures do you expect to stay in place, when we think about when the pandemic is finally under control?
Yeah, thank you, Laura, and thanks to Paul and everyone for making the effort today. It's great to see some faces in the crowd and to be back in this setting. Look, I can't sugarcoat what it's like to be an operational staff member in an airline or a private jet operation at this time. It's certainly a new world, and its challenges and its different rules and regulations and requirements every time and at every airport and at every destination. So unfortunately, the fatigue and the long-term effect that is going to have on our industry is something we probably need to acknowledge from the start. Airports are ghost towns. Passenger cabins are ghost towns. You move from quarantine hotel to quarantine hotel. It is like a prison sentence. In Victoria, Melbourne, Victoria, you're actually issued a detention notice as you enter the country, and you're not to leave your room, or else you'll be dealt with by the law. It's quite serious, and it's having a long-term effect on the next generation to come into our industry, because it's not the glamour industry it was. Even from an excitement point of view, there's no hustle and bustle in the airport anymore, and you come back from a long-haul flight. You may have flown up to 36 hours now. Some airlines are operating to London and back with a spare crew in the back. You don't have a shower before you sit in that seat to fly all the way back. It's pretty depressing to come back and then sit on a white chair in a room with bright white lights at 4 a.m. in the morning and wait for a COVID test result for up to 4 hours.
So I guess it's important to acknowledge that this has been a hugely challenging time in the industry, especially when it comes to talent. Sarah, so I just wanted to come to you next. When we think about that, and then we think about how stress and emotional management is a passion of yours, can you tell us what tools you help teach pilots and other people within the industry?
Of course. So it's been a challenging time, not only for flight crew, but everyone in this room and everyone in every industry. But for flight crew, especially sitting in these rooms and being by yourself for long periods of time, really take their toll. And so what I have introduced to a lot of different flight crew and people in general are different methods of breath work, resilience reframing exercises, where we really go into understanding why we feel this way, acknowledging that we feel this way. I think that's really important. Mental health has always been a bit of a stigma for pilots in particular. And so acknowledging that this is a difficult time and understanding how we can work with what we have to, make the best of the situation. And it's not easy. Not everyone is well adapted to meditation. That word is probably triggering for some as well. But it's about taking the small steps that you consistently can do every single day, and that can lead to a big shift. 1% change every day is 37x. So you may think that it's not really doing very much for you, but at the end, that cumulative effect really does help with chronic stress and fatigue.
Thanks so much. I think it's a great sort of laying that groundwork. But moving forward, Johnny, I want to come to you next. What more do you think Hong Kong can do to kind of retain and also foster its local talent?
Well, sorry. I think in our aircraft financing world, it's very difficult always to nourish a new pool of aviation finance professionals locally because there's no formal training program in the past. We always wait until the Air Finance Conference to be held in November. There's a master class. People come in and get 3-day training. So it's very difficult. And all these local talents are only trained by this own company. So I think I'm very happy to see that there are more and more formal training programs organized in Hong Kong, so that a lot of local talents can be brought up to the more senior levels through some formal trainings. And then I think in the future, if we can see universities or higher education institutions to organize this kind of programs, granting like degree courses, that I think will be able to help to put up a new pool of talents locally.
In the article that I wrote for the South China Morning Post, I looked at how cabin crew have been finding new jobs and how their polish and their professionalism and their transferable skills have all been kind of hugely attractive to employers. However, when we're thinking about pilots, I was thinking that they're similar to doctors, aren't they? You have your speciality and it is quite different. So Dane, I just wanted to come to you, and can you tell us about how you have kind of diversified and upskilled yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm lucky. I've got both a helicopter, I guess, and a corporate and an airline background. So I've been able to move my focus from the airline background into the corporate world and look more at the private business jet operations, which we'll probably concede will recover as borders open quicker. So that's been my focus area. I've retrained onto a large corporate aircraft, and I'm ready to go when things pick up. Some examples of what we see in the region for pilots and cabin crew, specifically like your article. Some of those soft skills are very transferable, especially in the private aviation game. Dealing with very important, influential, high net worth individuals is a skill that not maybe everyone is experienced in or can do. So there is opportunities there in sort of not an executive assistant or personal assistant level, but we need to think outside the box, and maybe the crew in that environment have got those skills. To cite examples though, around Australia and the UK, I've seen a lot of pilots move to train driving and systems management style jobs. Some guys have moved into unmanned aircraft operations, and then also with the uptake, there's a little bit more into this special mission or non-passenger related aviation services, so maybe firefighting, aeromedical, that sort of thing. It certainly is a challenge, but they're using their systems-based approach and management skills to transfer those skills. Drive a bus, drive a train, lots of sort of things out there. So.
I think resilience and soft skills are, two of the key watchwords. Sarah, I know you've trained people into aviation, but we're also seeing people kind of go the other way. Can you give us some examples of what else you're seeing in terms of people upskilling or reskilling?
Of course. So I think, we've heard the word pivot a few times. That's actually the name of my company as well. But being able to be agile, to have the mindset where you can reframe and you can turn crisis into opportunity is very important. And it's always been important. But I think we're seeing now the firms that are surviving, the people that are surviving and maybe even thriving now are the ones who have been able to find that silver lining and reframe from, something being impossible to thinking, well, I'm possible. Right, and it sounds cheesy, but at the end of the day, our glasses are always refillable. If you think that it's half empty or if it's half full, you can always pour something new into that glass. You can always get a new glass, even if that one breaks. And so it's important to look at the skills that you do have. As you mentioned, the leadership capabilities, in the private jet sector particularly, we are dealing with very dynamic, fast-changing environments. Having the resilience and having this experience now is actually going to be a benefit later, because you'll be in a better position to manage other people through crisis. One of the most important skills is to be calm in the face of change. And that's what pilots have to deal with in the business jet sector every single day. These owners are changing their schedules, their meetings are changing. Of course, not right now as much, but this is something that they have been able to have access to that most other industries don't ever face. And so to have this experience, whether you're starting your career or it's in the middle of your career, you can really use that to your advantage. And it's about knowing what keywords to use when you're interviewing, whether it's for unmanned aerial vehicles, whether it's for a management position, or starting your own business. I've seen a lot of pilots and flight attendants start their own businesses as well.
Yes, in my article, one of the cabin crew started making Korean flour cakes, and it's completely taken off. So something a bit different. But when we're thinking about upskilling or reskilling, obviously professional courses are a huge part of that. Johnny, I just wanted to come to you now, particularly in your area of aviation finance. Can you talk about some of the professional courses I know that you've helped design?
Thank you. First of all, I'm not representing VTC, but I've just helped them to design the professional diploma course in aviation finance. And I think this is quite a successful course because we have recruited some new people who have not been in this industry to participate in the program. It is a 132-hour program with 5 modules in different disciplines, including taxation, finance, engineering, and also legal fields. So these are quite a widespread course. And some of these students have never been working in aviation before. They're very interested in entering in this industry, but they don't know where to go. So I think this provides them a very good entry point. I hope that this will be continued. The first class, we have 35 students, and then we will be finishing the last module in a month's time. The second program will probably start in the fall of this year. The objective is to help out some of these people who have maybe participating in a professional area, but they have never got into air finance. So they do want to see if there are opportunities, what they can do, what they can learn. I think are very basic, not very high-level things, but at least a wide coverage of all the topics for the people to go into the area and to show their interest. I know that there are also other courses offered in Hong Kong now. There's a Hong Kong Youth Space Program, which is for executive. It's a 30-hour program, which is good for the high-level people to know the industry better. And there are also a number of other related disciplines, including one aircraft lead engineering program offered in Hong Kong Polytechnic University. They have got the first group of graduates last year, and there in each class there are 120 students. And I think these are young talents in Hong Kong which can help out our industry to grow. I hope that friends in this industry, including all of you sitting down here in this event, to offer them opportunity to become an intern in your company. And if you are interested, you can contact me. I'm happy to provide the connection for you to tap into good people, good young people in this community.
There's no doubt that COVID-19 has hugely impacted the aviation industry in a huge way, and there are challenges, but there are also opportunities, especially when we're thinking about digital technologies, diversity. So I just wanted to come to each of you in turn and say if you could peer into a crystal ball and see, looking at the future, what do you see as the new roles for talent when they're navigating this new space? Maybe we'll start with you, Johnny, and then go down the line.
Sorry, maybe I pass on first.
Okay. Dane, do you want to dive in?
Yeah, sure. Look, the new space is going to look very different. We talk about diversity and we talked about fostering talent. Look, it's going to be a new paradigm, the next wave of aviators, if I talk about it from an operational perspective. And maybe this is our chance to rebalance the gender dominance of the male stereotypical operator up the front of the airplane and the female down the back, things like that. Maybe we need to make the most of this opportunity. Yes, there is some amazing tech, and we're not going to board the aircraft with an old paper boarding pass for very much longer, things like that. A great story from Mike with his daughter about to go and work for Cathay, ends up working for Prenetics. She'll learn some great skills there. So we need to be positive and embrace it. It will be a contactless transit, though, onto the aircraft. It won't be that enjoyable service for some time where you served a lovely meal and drink in business class. It will be a box for some time. So it has its challenges, yeah.
Sarah?
I think that, the industry is going to transform a lot. We're going to see a change in travel patterns because of how difficult it is to fly. And even as it goes back to what we would call normal pre-COVID, there will still be a change in habits because of sustainability, the Greta Thunbergs of the world, right, challenging the use of aircraft in general. And so I think if we look at the soft skill roles, if we look at the technology, the drones, drones are being used for filming, they're being used for agriculture, there's still medevac flights, we still need to move cargo around the world, so there's still going to be a lot of opportunity. But as I've always talked about with the ASWA Discovery Program, it's about letting people know that aviation is not just about pilots and flight attendants. It's also about all the support roles, and you could have a passion for aviation and still be an accountant. We still need somebody to do that job. So it's just about making sure people understand what different types of roles they can have and how they can transfer in and out as they may need.
Johnny, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think I can add that, we have been in this industry for many, many years, and I see that friends are around for the last 20 years, the same group of people. But here in Hong Kong, we have now got a new legislation of tax rules in Hong Kong, which encourage more leasing companies to set up in Hong Kong. So we'll see more and more finance activities in aircraft in Hong Kong. So we need a lot of new blood. So I hope that we can encourage the companies which will come into Hong Kong to hire local people rather than to get more expatriates coming into town. There are a lot of, young people who are very keen to enter in this industry. So hope that in the future we see more young generation in these conferences.
I think that's a great note to end on. Thank you so much, all the panelists.
Thank you.
We now have a 15-minute break. You can sit in here or you can go outside, and we'll see you back here in 15 minutes. Thank you.